Welcome to another episode of the CX Architect Podcast. I am your host, Zach Hoskins, and it is my pleasure to bring to you businesses who have a customer-centric focus and dive into what that looks like now, what it's looked like over the life of the business, and what it will look like in the future of the business. My goal would be that you could snag some insights to implement into your business after listening. Let's dive in. On this episode, I sit down with Sandy Higgins, owner of the Crackerjack Shack. The Crackerjack Shack is a locally owned and operated screen printing, embroidery, and custom apparel company in Southwest Missouri, and has been since 2007. My conversation with her was packed with ways you can create an experience that your clients want to be a part of. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Sandy Higgins. Sandy, thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure to, we just took a tour and you talked a lot about how your customer centricity and your client experience is it seems like you're so passionate about it, and so I'm very excited to dive deep into that with you.
I am very passionate about it. Going into your 12th year in business, a lot of people hit the burnout phase, but we are anything but burned out. We are just as excited today as we were 12 years ago when we started the business.
That's very exciting. So if you could just start off and maybe dive into your background story, where, how the business got started, maybe, if you had any entrepreneurial things growing up or kind of where your business has come from, where it is now and where it's going.
Well, I like to say that we are a true American business story. We honestly did not really even start with a big business idea. I started actually as a school teacher. I taught high school English for 10 years, and when we adopted our daughter, I stayed home with her. And when she reached about 6 years old, I always say I had to move from the little cute baby girl department at the department store shopping for clothes for her and move over to the Britney Spears department. And I was not going to put that on my sweet little girl.
Sure.
It was too mature for her and
Sure.
too edgy. And so I thought, man, I'm a seamstress. I can make some really cute stuff. So I went home and I started making clothes for her. Well, everywhere we went, people were like, oh my gosh, where did you get that? And one of the things that I started doing was personalizing what I did for her. I had an home embroidery machine, and I could put her name on it and things. So eventually I started selling what I was making, and I stumbled across an online selling group where we would have themed launches, and I started developing a following on the East Coast and the West Coast. Well, eventually the business grew where I couldn't really keep up, so I tried to hire a couple of people, and what I learned is when you have a very specialized talent, you can't duplicate that. You can't teach that to other people. So the business at that time was stunted. I remember I went to a trade show in Kansas City. And actually, it was a quilting show. I think I was the youngest person there. But I went to learn sewing techniques for my business and what I was doing to make production a little bit faster.
Gotcha.
And what happened is I wound up meeting up with a lady who was basically in the same situation I was. And I remember one sentence changed the whole course of the business. And she said, "Have you ever thought about logo wear?" And instantly I thought, hey, I can teach somebody how to run a machine. I don't have to teach them the talent part, the artistic part of this. I can teach them the production part. So I literally went back to my hotel room, and that notepad, they keep in the nightstand, I just closed my eyes and I started visualizing every business I knew that I could digitize their logo. This is literally how this business started. So, and it's such a crazy story, but I went back home and I digitized all those logos. I went to the Dollar General store and I got the cheapest little fingertip towels I could find, and I stitched out all of those logos on those towels, and I rolled them up really cute, and I put little ribbons on them, and I stuck my business card underneath it, and I put them in a basket. But one thing I learned in the boutique industry is that if you personalize it, if people see their name, there's a connection. And so I knew that having those little embroidered logos was really important. So I literally put them in a basket, and I went out the first day, and I walked right up to the people and I said, "Hi, my name is Sandy, and here's what I can do with your logo. Are you in the market for shirts or uniforms or apparel?" I literally sold out the first day. People were excited. They did make that connection, and within 6 months, we were doing nothing but logo wear.
Oh my goodness. Wow. And so it was so interesting, like even at the beginning of your business, it seemed like you were already in the client experience. I mean,
absolutely.
Just wanting to make sure that they felt, that they were taken care of and personal. It was personal to them, which immediately made the connection.
That's exactly right. And in the boutique industry, literally we would start with, I would design a pattern and make a very unique, customized outfit for a child. And then once that was sold, everything was destroyed. So it was exclusive. So I was very client driven in that phase. And that may be partly, I'm kind of a people person anyway.
Sure.
And so that may be part of what drives it. And the other part is my personality. But I don't know.
Well, cool. So I guess let's dive into a couple of ways that you might be, how are you bringing that customer centricity and client experience to the business that you're in now, and talk a little bit about that.
Well, one of the things that I think is very important as the CEO of a business is to relay that client experience to every single employee. I don't care if all they do is clean the bathrooms. They need to make sure that they understand that they are frontline to the client. Even on our rug on our front door, when you walk in, it says, "Get on in here." It's very important that clients know when they walk in our door that they are welcome, that we are friendly, we appreciate their business, and that we're going to wow them. I tell our staff all the time that there's a screen printer and an embroiderer within 2 miles of almost every other screen printer and embroiderer in this area. We're saturated with that. So what makes us different? Why did they choose us instead of going somewhere else? And our retention rate with our clients is over 95%. I mean, once people start shopping with us, they stay with us. And I'm going to be very open and honest with you. It's not because we're cheap. We do not offer the cheapest prices in town. It's because of that client experience. I was sharing with you earlier that we have always had a very set 10-step workflow within the business, and that starts in our art department, goes to order entry, and then we go to purchasing, and then we go to receiving, production, and invoicing, and all the way down. And I think sometimes those employees who are after the sales process, they fall after that whole thing happens, and they visualize themselves possibly as not frontline to the customer. My job is to make sure that they do see themselves as frontline to the customer. When my guy, my wonderful guy in the receiving department, when he is labeling a box, he's not just labeling a box, he's communicating directly with that customer. When he's counting that, he's ensuring accuracy for that customer. When my printer is at the press, he is ensuring that product looks better than that customer could get anywhere else. So I always think of it like a football lineup, that they're on the line of scrimmage, they're not in line at the DMV falling backward. It is very important that each employee sees that they are frontline to the customer.
Yeah, that's so important, because there are front stage activities that the client will see directly, but then, like you were kind of talking about, the labeling or the printing, those are, I guess I would consider them backstage in the client experience kind of activities, but they are still, the way that you kind of communicated it, it's still directly impacting the customer or the client, and that's just incredible.
They absolutely are.
So tell me a little bit more about, we kind of talked, and as we were walking through the store, you told me a little bit about a great way that the client is experiencing your business through these online spirit stores. Please talk a little bit about this.
That's the most exciting thing. Well, we knew actually about 5 years ago that club sponsors, coaches, churches, and charitable fundraisers, people who were into and needed to do fundraising, we had two problems, actually. One of them was the tediousness of sending out flyers, getting kids and people to collect money, making sure that money was accurate, tallying all the results, whenever those flyers come back in, making sure those results were accurate for us, for production, or they were just giving us these random pieces of paper, and then I was paying my staff, to figure out, okay, how many shirts do we need of blue, and, all that. So it just became a very cumbersome process, and I kept thinking, man, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I started thinking if we could move this online. I knew of a couple other companies that had tried it before. I had talked with some clients. They were, with some problems that they had seen, in that. And I thought, man, if we could address those problems and solve those and make the process super easy, then, we would have a winner. And so that's what we started doing, is we started developing our online spirit stores. I'm not going to say it wasn't without hitches, because, oh my goodness, in the early days we had hitches, because we were accustomed to getting an order, let's say, of 100 shirts. We print the 100 shirts. I will say we're one of the only printers around who individually folds those shirts. So we were folding and boxing them and sending out to the customer. So it changes the whole game whenever you are in the fulfillment industry and you are a business and you are fulfilling individual orders. It's a very different workflow than what we had going, and I'm not gonna lie, we had a few staffers rebel, and I was rebelling a little bit, and I'm like, I'm telling you, this is gonna work. So anyway, we just had to get our system down pat. One of the key things that we did, though, is we got some proprietary software, and that was a game changer. Something that would manage all of the orders that were coming in. They would help us keep track. They would help us with our fulfillment and things like that. That really made a huge difference in how we put all of this together. But on the back side of that now, it's so easy. I mean, our clients literally, the local clients will come in, they meet with us maybe one time, we develop the store, we put it online, usually it's crackerjackshack.com/whatever their name is for their fundraiser. They blast that link out on social media, and then the race is on. Those are what we call temporary campaigns or short-term campaigns. They sell for a short period of time, and then we process those orders, and then we manage everything on our side. And then we fulfill those orders either by shipping according to the customer's request, or they come in and pick up. But let me tell you a little bit about how it's changed B2B, business to business. We have a model that we use for our businesses, and the old model was the human resource director or the marketing director would pre-buy a lot of garments, and then they would house those garments either in their office or in some cases even in warehouses. We have one client in particular who had a lease on a warehouse where they would house all of their garments. By moving to an online venue where we can fulfill on demand, so these are our spirit stores that are ongoing for business. By doing that, and let's say you're a new hire and you come in, and instead of saying, okay, what size you need, and then we go to see what size we have in stock for you, instead of doing that, I'm going to give you a link, and you go to the store and you make your purchase. If my company requires that you purchase that yourself, that's fine. You just go to online, purchase like you do, with any online store. If we buy that for you, I'll give you a coupon code that you can use, and then we build a corporate office on the backside when that order comes through. So either way, we can fulfill that. This one company in particular, after a certain, 6 months to a year, they were able to completely get rid of a lease on a warehouse. Because of this order fulfillment that we've been doing. So it's been a real game changer for us and for our clients.
No doubt. What a way to just, like you said, if you're able to provide a client with a decrease in that expense to that
Absolutely.
Warehouse, I mean, that's huge. What a great experience.
It really is. And then on the fundraiser side, it really only takes one meeting. We put the store online, they blast it out for a short term, and then they get a kickback check at the end. That's it. Wow. There it is as easy as it gets. And then for clients that are, out of town, we just fulfilled a school in Virginia, for example, Brentsville High School in Virginia, and everything was done via email. So we never had a person in the store at all. Everything was done by email, and then we sent them their check. Interesting.
So with this type of business, there's potentially a lot of waste with shirts that might have been printed on, that you might have to get rid of, or washing down things in through when you're working with the screens or some of that liquid waste. Walk me through kind of what you do. I know you told me a little bit about it, but fill our listeners in on kind of what you do with those types of things.
Well, I like to say that we are a very responsible printer, and one of our goals, and I think you do have to be very conscientious about this, it's not something that just happens, but I like to say that we are very responsible. We want to leave as small a footprint on the environment as possible. So there are some things that we do that I think are a little different, and sometimes I think they're hidden. I don't think a lot of people know that we do the things that we do. Let's start with the easy stuff. Our cardboard boxes. We have boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes that come into this place. We have a recycling bin out by the main dumpster at our location where we break down our boxes, which takes some time, but we break down our boxes and they all go in the recycler. In our reclaim room, and for those of you who don't know what a reclaim room is, it's where we recycle our screens. We remove all the emulsion and then we clean them all up so that they can be reused and put back on the press. But in our reclaim room, all of the chemical that we use in our dip tank is biodegradable. We could, if we wanted to, just pour it right down the drain. We don't, but we could if we wanted to, because it is completely harmless and biodegradable. But what we do instead is we soak our screens in it, and then as we wash our screens, all of that chemical goes into another 3-part filtration system, and we are constantly changing those filters. So as it filters all the way through, we have a motor down there that pushes everything through these filters so that we are putting clean water back into the system. It's an expensive apparatus to maintain because of all the filters that we're constantly changing, but it's very important to us that we're not just shoving chemical and ink and gunk down the drain. We are very, very responsible in that way. But then we take it another step. We produce a lot of spoilage. We have t-shirts that we do test prints on every single day, and if you've ever been in a screen printing shop, you know that we test print on every inch of a t-shirt that you can possibly imagine. The sleeves, the inside, the outside, the back, the hem, everything. In our embroidery department, it's the same way. We have multiple caps that we're test stitching cap designs on. So what happens to all of that stuff? Well, most places just put it in the dumpster and they don't think another thing about it, but not here. What we like to do with it, and this is just a real win for everybody, is my daughter and I several years ago were able to volunteer at a homeless shelter in Oklahoma City, and we noticed that they were separating good clothing from bad clothing, and I kept probing and asking questions. Well, what's going on with that bad clothing? Torn, ripped, stained, clothing that was not wearable. And they said that there was a carpet manufacturer that was close by, and they could take all of that scrap good and sell it by the pound, and they would shred it and make carpeting out of it. Well, of course, the light bulb went off, and I thought, oh my goodness, I've got all kinds of scrap good I could send down there. So for years now, literally years, we have been sending all of our scrap goods to this homeless shelter in Oklahoma City, and they have been shredding it and getting paid by the pound. So the money goes all back to the homeless shelter. So when we moved into our location here, my landlord was very concerned because we are the size we are, that he was going to have to add a complete separate dumpster just for us. And I said, you'll be very surprised that we have as many people as we do and as big of an operation, but we only have about 1 or 2 bags of trash a week that goes out the door. Yes. And sure enough, even after all these years, we've maintained that.
What an incredible, so that's not even client experience. That dives into community experience and really giving back and really allowing, if your clients realize that about you, then that makes them feel good for coming to you to give you the business. That's just an incredible way to kind of bring that in a full circle, I guess.
Well, it does. We just feel a responsibility, that screen printing can be a very dirty business. It's very bad for the environment. And if you're going to be a responsible printer, then be responsible. We have a responsibility not only to our clients, but like you said, to our community and to our global community. Sure. So we have a responsibility to do our part.
Yeah. So walk me through a challenge or a failure that you've kind of worked through, but then it later set you up for, later success.
Oh gosh. Well, you don't stay in business for as long as we've been in business without having challenges come along the way. About 4 or 5 years ago, we were on track to franchise. This is probably the biggest 90-degree turn I think we had to take. We were on track to really rock and roll this thing. We had targeted Joplin and the Bentonville, Arkansas area. Nobody in our industry, in my opinion, has been really successful at franchising what we do. And I think part of it is because they try to take a technician or try to take an entrepreneur and make a technician out of them. They send them to 2 weeks of school to be a screen printer or an embroiderer, and it's too technical. You can't learn those skills and be really good at it in that amount of time. And then you're also trying to sell, and you're trying to pay the bills, and you're trying to, keep up with your taxes and, do all of that kind of thing. It sets you up for failure, and the failure rate for franchises in our industry is very high. So we had come up with a model that we thought, boy, this is really going to work because we know this business. So we were on track. We had opened our second store, and actually at that time we were transitioning into our third store. Okay. And my mother was in a catastrophic car accident, and those are the times in your life when you really evaluate what's important to me. And I'm not going to lie, we also had some other logistics problems. We had the software we were using wasn't as supportive as we needed it to be communicating between the stores. And let me tell you, starting a franchise business is much harder than a lot of people give it credit for. It really is very difficult. And then when you have personal challenges along the way, I'm the only sibling who lives locally, and it really came down to family or business. And I made the right choice. I chose my family, and eventually we closed down our Springfield store and we consolidated under one roof. And honestly, we have a much stronger business now. Our clientele has grown. Our staff, I probably have the best staff I have ever had right now. We have the most intelligent, ambitious, cohesive staff we have ever had. Great. It's just an exciting place to be. And looking back, I would have done it all over again, but it was a very challenging thing because it's letting go of a dream in a way. But as you look backward, you have that 2020 vision looking backward, and it really wasn't letting go. It was just redirecting a little bit. So we just changed that dream a little bit, and then we started our spirit stores, and those took off. And then we've got another project we're probably going to talk about here in just a minute that I'm really excited to talk about. Yeah. So other things are coming up, and it all works out. So
very cool. Well, awesome. Well, thank you for kind of taking the time to explain that. And okay, so take us back to your 20-year-old self. What would you tell her at this point? What kind of advice would you give at this point, just to if you'd explain a little bit on that?
Well, actually, I owned a business when I was in my early 20s, and one of the things, it barely succeeded. I didn't know anything about business. I was also teaching at the time, so I was stretched very thin. But one of the biggest thing I would probably tell myself is to get a mentor. I think sometimes we think we know too much, and we don't want to be disciplined by other people. We want to be, if you're the head of your corporation or company, we want to be top dog, and we want to think we have all the answers. But in reality, we don't, and we need that discipline from an outside source, somebody who's able to look in. And I have had a mentor with this business since the beginning, really, through the Small Business Administration, and he has been a key resource for me. He really, really has. So that is the thing that I would say is get a really good mentor and listen cool. to that person.
Yes. Okay, so I know we're going to try and wrap this up. I want to be respectful of your time, but what's one key takeaway that our listeners should take from our conversation to implement in regards to client experience?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to really focus on the client. Customer service now is just a lost art. I even tell my staff, you can practice basic customer service. Be friendly when somebody comes in the door. Stand up from your desk whenever they walk in. Make eye contact. And people will think you're a rock star, for heaven's sakes. I mean, it really is a very lost. We don't connect anymore. And that connection is what people want. They want to know if they're going to come in and give me their brand, and I'm going to handle their logo, and I'm going to be a part of their business growth. They want to know they're in good hands and people who respect that. And, for any business that you're in, if you're in a service industry, you're connected to your clients' clients. And you have to look at it like that. So we are all really frontline to connecting and touching one another. We really are.
Very cool. Okay, so you mentioned something exciting. I would love for you to, that's coming up, I would love for you to kind of let us in on what that is.
Oh, this is really exciting. Okay, so the Crackerjack Shack is one of the nation's ground floor group of, we are in the group of screen printers who are part of promoting a brand new brand of t-shirts. It's called All Made. All Made is a they are changing the way t-shirts are made, and they are having a global impact in, especially directly in the lives of the people who live in poverty in Haiti. The company who is in charge of this is from the screen printing industry. They have had lots and lots of experience as a screen printer. They've had lots of experience as a screen print supplier for inks and emulsions and things like that. But now they have gone full circle and they are a t-shirt supplier. So let me tell you a little bit about these t-shirts. These t-shirts are made from 6 recycled plastic bottles. They are tri-blend t-shirts, super soft to the touch. They're premium quality. They are, I'm still learning myself, but we are learning that the fabric is made in the United States. That fabric is then sent to Haiti, where the people in Haiti are actually making a living wage. And if you don't know a lot about what's going on in Haiti, it's been an impoverished country for many, many years. But the people there are making a living wage. Their kids are being educated. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of the orphans there are not orphans because their parents are deceased. They're orphans because their parents can't afford to raise them. Wow. So we're reaching those orphans that are there, and for every t-shirt that is sold, literally they are touching the lives of these people in Haiti. So we have switched completely. If you are in the market for a premium brand shirt, we are going to promote the All Made brand. And in November, I am on my way to Haiti, to the factory there. I am really excited to see firsthand and be a part of what is going on with the screen printers who are in this ground floor group of screen printers that are going there. Now, I want to say one other thing too. We have a client who, actually a few clients who have now signed on and committed to buying this brand. And one of the things that we found with a competing brand is inventory issues. We've had problems, they want a certain color and then they're completely sold out in, let's say, size large, and we can't get them for another 60 days. The All Made brand has committed to keeping their inventory levels up, and we have not seen a dip yet. If we run into trouble, we're getting firsthand service from them in their factory in Louisiana, and they say in 5 days we can have shirts on the ground to you. They're keeping stock of bulk fabric so that they can construct right there on site and they can fulfill that demand. They are committed to the environment, they're committed to the people in Haiti, and they are committed to screen printers and our clients. It's a win-win all the way around. It's the most exciting brand we have ever promoted.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. What a great way for your client experience to impact the community and basically around the entire world.
Absolutely.
Everything it's all kind of joining hands, and it's just exciting to see how that's coming together. Well, tell our listeners how they can get in contact with you or how they can follow you to kind of keep up with this journey.
Most of our social media platforms, you can find us at Go to the Shack. So facebook.com/Go to the Shack, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. It's all Go to the Shack. You can, of course, go to our website at crackerjackshack.com. You can call us at 417-751-9511, or just come on in. Get on in here.
Awesome. Well, I know you're busy, but I appreciate you being part of the podcast, Sandy. We're all better for it, and Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for listening in on another episode of the CX Architect Podcast. As always, we would love to get your feedback on this episode and other episodes. If you liked it, if you pulled out any nuggets to implement, things like that. You can head over to cxarchitectpodcast.com to find the show notes and a place to leave some feedback. Please let us know what you would like to hear more of, and if you like the show and believe others might benefit from it, we would love if you would share it up or leave a 5-star review on iTunes. Doing that will help more people discover the show. And with that, I appreciate you and thank you for listening. Have an awesome day.